Shalom, everybody. I said I would make a video, somewhat of a tutorial on how to celebrate certain feast days. And as we now prepare for our new year, I wanted to make sure that everyone understood what this was about. So we're going to be coming out of the book of Enoch. And I'm going to begin in chapter 13, verse 56. 55. And it came to pass that Enoch was in the drying yard where they dried fish, and he labored until he was exhausted. And he was in his 239th year. He was 239 years old, and he labored until he was exhausted, and he slept in the drying yard in the midst of his labor. And his wife, Enoch's wife, Etni, brought him food and comforted him. And at this season, all of the people labored with much effort in order to provide for themselves. And it came to pass that in the night, in the press of these labors, the Lord came to Enoch as he lay asleep in the midst of the drying poles of fish. And he awoke Enoch gently. Enoch, Enoch, he said, Lord, I am here for you. And Moses said, Enoch, will you come and visit with me? And Enoch replied, Lord, we are in the midst of our labors in the harvest, and the fish are brought to us in abundance. And the Lord said, you have more to harvest with me than all the fish in the sea. Here, as Enoch was busy, he got so busy that when Moses, who is Jesus Christ, or the Lord, asked him to assist him, he almost brushed him off. And then Enoch said, Lord, forgive me. I will come to visit with you as you have said. So Enoch got his men together, and it came to pass in the morning, after Enoch had set his affairs in order, he gathered his listeners, and he went west to the altar of Sapua. And after their arrival the next morning, the Lord approached, and he sat on the ground, and the listeners took their positions. And the Lord spoke to Enoch tenderly in his heart. Now here I'm not going to read everything. I'm going to abbreviate it just so we could get to the portions dealing with this particular feast day. We'll do a study on this where we can do the completion of everything that preceded leading up to him establishing this day. But here is where we're establishing how we begin a new year. Let's look at, verse 61. This is the importance of it. Law number 16 in the law of Jeshurun speaks about keeping the feast days, and it's a great delight for Anokeesed. The reason that our Father created us is so that he could live with his children, so that he could have children and live with them. That's why he gave us his son, Moses. That's why he came in the flesh. So verse number 61 of chapter 13. And my Father has observed all of these things that we have done together. He talked about how we divided the men, as we as we established marriage. We did all of these things, the sanctity of marriage. And now he said, my Father has observed all of these things that we have done together, and he has another need that weighs heavily upon him. And I have come to you this day to ask you to bless and comfort my Father according to the tender desires of his heart. This is where we have to remember that Anokeesed, our Father, has feelings. Moses has feelings. Feelings just like us. They get happy, they're sad, they're excited, they're anxious. So here he's saying my Father is sad, and the reason he's sad is all of these days, and how you may divide the days of the lives of men. The reason that he's sad is because he has these days that are established in eternity, but up till now he's celebrating them by himself. So if you are not celebrating those days, you are causing heartache on our Father. And Moses replied, now then I say to you, that beginning with the first day of the season of renewal, which you have named Shadashah, which is springtime, you shall mark the first day of the year. So it's not January 1st. It is the first day of spring. And we determine that by the spring equinox. And there shall be 4 seasons. We have that. A season shall have 13 weeks. It's not based on months. It's 13 weeks. 13 times 4 is 364 days. We'll explain where the other day comes in. And you will have weeks of 7 days to mark the 7 days of creation. And the first day of the year shall be on the 4th day of the week, Because of that day of the week, Yatsakad and Kava, which is Adam and Eve, passed through the oaks of Patha to return to Eden. That's a long story, but Adam and Eve were, when they were removed from the garden, they were for the rest of their lives trying to find out how to get back to Eden. Well, Motza finally called them back home, and they actually walked back to Eden, and they did that on the 4th day. So every New Year starts on the 4th day. Now, this isn't seen as the calendar of the Gregorian calendar, meaning it started on Wednesday. Actually, the New Year this year, I believe, starts on, I'm not going to quote, but Thursday. So it could start on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If it starts on that day, that is the 4th day. Everybody got me? Okay. So now understand that time came because of sin, but time did not come from sin. All right, we're going to move. Okay, so we're going to pick up at chapter 13, verse number 71. And the division of days of men is both a blessing for my Father and for the righteous. For such days are for the righteous to have life in the flesh more fully. And by the division of days which they have been given, they can enjoy the treasures of the passages of Anokeesed, which is our Father, and of their lives and those of their children. It gives markers to our time. It gives us a sense of when we can be excited about something that's coming, but we can also reminisce about the things that have already happened. And this is a time set aside when we specifically have time for our fathers, just like our Anokeesed, our Father. It's just like in our past, we would have Christmas and everybody would get together. We would have Easter and everybody would get together. We would have 4th of July and everybody get together. Well, those are false calendars to throw us away from the Enochian calendar, which was established by Enoch and the Messiah right here. And he continues, and for the righteous, it is a rich gift indeed, for they can look upon their little ones and on the charity of their women and children, and upon the valor and honor of their gentle fathers, and they can behold all manner of the sweetness of life, and they can share in the memories and find moments of Anokeesed to comfort him and one another, to comfort him and one another. Our Father is just like any father. He loves to reminisce. Oriel, which is the son, that is what she does. She loves to reminisce, and she loves to hear us reminisce. But here the Father is saying, or the Messiah is telling us that the Father loves to spend time with his children. Verse number 73. And the righteous should arise each day with rejoicing for the gift of a new day. It is an exciting opportunity to walk with the Father, to love one another, and to enjoy the life which they have been given. So I'm going to move to going right into it. And the wicked, verse number 79, and the wicked will divide their days to enable themselves to find the satisfaction of possessions and opportunities to magnify wickedness. And they will turn every holy day into a day of reveling and lustful and imbibing pleasures, a lot of alcohol. And they will, you know this is true, in their holidays. And they will view time as bondage, for they will find days of obligation instead of days of opportunity. And they will dread any day that approaches wherein they must stand to account. But any day of accountability to the righteous is seen to be a day of fulfillment. So when we have these holy days, they look at it like, for their holy days, it's taken away from my schedule, man. I can't make money. I got to shut down. I got to do this and do that. It sounds like a day of obligation, where we see it as days of opportunity. Opportunity to spend time with our fellow man. Opportunity to rest. Opportunity, most importantly, to spend time with our Father, Anokeesed. He says in verse number 81, and my son, speaking of Enoch, you must divide the days of man according to this manner. The rising sun must be the beginning of your day. It is not what we were mistakenly taught in the scriptures, that is from sun up to sundown, which doesn't make sense. And I could talk further into that, but we're just going to say what the Messiah said. He said the rising sun must be the beginning of the day. So a day, a complete day, is a 24-hour day. So if you're fasting, that would be from 7 a.m. Monday to 6:59 Tuesday, or 7 a.m. Tuesday. It's a complete day. A day is not from morning to evening. And he said the rising of the sun must be the beginning of your day, but the setting sun begins the day for those who work in darkness. He's telling us that those who are telling us that are those who work in darkness. And the course of the sun is to guide you in all manners of the division of the days, not the moon. So we're not establishing it based on the moon cycle, which is the month. He made it very clear. 13 weeks in a season, 4 seasons. It has nothing to do with months. 13 weeks in a season, 4 seasons, brings us the 364th day, 4 days, and then there's 1 day that's not counted in the calendar, and that is called Anokeesed Day, which is our New Year Day, which I refer to as Father's Day. We're going to keep going. And verse 82, and you shall count the years of your life, starting from the birth of your days. Each season, all right, I'm going to go over the seasons later. I just want to handle what we're dealing with this feast day. Verse number 89. And the first day of your year is not a Sabbath, and it shall fall on the 4th day of the week. Now, this can be confusing, because on that day, Yatsakad and Kava returned to Eden, and the inheritance of Gabriel was fulfilled on that day. So, the inheritance of Adam, Yatsakad and Kava, is Adam and Eve. Gabriel is the name of Adam given to, that's his heavenly name. So when you see Gabriel in the Bible, that's really talking about Adam. So he said that I told you already that they returned back to Eden on the 4th day. So on the 4th day, that has to begin New Year's. So the spring equinox generally takes place between March 19th to 21st. So it doesn't matter if it takes place on the 19th, that's the 4th day. So our Sabbath is based off of that. Simply put, if it happened on Wednesday, then when would our Sabbath be? 4th day. 5th day would be Thursday. 6th day would be Friday. 7th day would be Saturday. So it would be the Saturday 7th. That's correct. If it happened on Thursday, what would it be? Okay, the 4th day. It will be on Sunday. Good. So we know that this year the Sabbath is on a Friday, because the Sabbath, the 4th day is on Friday, because our Sabbath is now moved from Sunday to Monday. Everybody got it? So the 4th day, or the day of the spring equinox, is on the Friday, and it is not what the Gregorian calendar say is the 5th day. It is the 4th day, because that is the day that the new year begins. Then our Sabbath is 3 days after that. That's why our Sabbath has just moved from Sunday to Monday. This is 2026, so it went from Sunday of 2025, and now in the March of 2026, it'll go to Monday. Okay, so we're going to keep going. So the first day of the year is not a Sabbath, and it shall fall on the 4th day of the week. So that will be Friday, because on that day, all right, and then 2 days before this day is a Sabbath. So on Wednesday, that's a Sabbath. Everybody got it? Friday is not a Sabbath, and it'll make sense why later, but Friday is not the Sabbath. The Sabbath is on that Wednesday. So what do we do on that Sabbath? And your observance of the first day of the year is to follow in this likeness of the day of Yatsakad and Kava left Eden. They did so 2 days before they departed to leave Eden. They confessed to Anokeesed, our father, what had happened to them in their sins. So back when they were in Eden, when the first sin took place, they confessed to him what happened, and then oh man, this is so great. When they confessed to him what happened, it's not like the scripture said when he kicked them out of the garden and put 2 cherubims so that they couldn't return. He actually slept with them. He slept in between their arms, our father, in the form of a man. That's Motzer. He slept in between their arms and he comforted them. So that, and he taught them about the fear, but we'll talk about that later. But he slept with them. So 2 days before they departed to leave Eden, they confessed to Anokeesed what had happened to them and their sins, and it is a day to abandon sin, and to make sure determinations to walk uprightly before Anokeesed. And on the day of the new year, you are to anticipate the arrival of your father Anokeesed, and you are to acknowledge in your souls together your need to be forgiven. And on that day, you are gently and with real intent, and with true purpose of heart, to confess the sins of your life one to another and to Anokeesed. So that's what we're doing on Monday, the Sabbath day. That will be, on Wednesday, the Sabbath day. That's the day when we have a gathering. We confess our sins. We will gather together, those that are in this area. And with rich fellowship, now the confessing of the sins part, that is more what you do in your home. So this is really like a home celebration, but for those in the area that want to participate, we can do so. If you want to do it at your home, that's fine as well. Some of us are doing it as individuals in our home. So if you would like to do it in a participation of in a participatory way, then we can do it together. All right. So and verse number 91. And when this rich fellowship is completed, you are to wash in water from the brook of the meadow, and let each person wear wool on this day, and carry with him as he is worthy plant, so that the spirit of rich forgiveness may abide with them and linger with their hearts. Now, it depends on if you're in community, then you can follow it to a T. With us not having everything, I have requested certain materials from the Brotherhood. We'll see what we can actually get, but we can wear wool on that day, and that is the day where we want to feel forgiven. And everyone is to have their hair up all day. That's not going to be a problem yet, but in a couple years that'll be a situation. So men and women, you wear your hair up as we go to stand before Anokeesed this day, until you enter in to make your confessions. And your hair is up to be an acknowledgement that this time you are not a victim of Motsar, who is Semiyaza, who is the wicked one, but you have chosen to join your spirit with him in some way for which you will confess. And that night you are to prepare your place of rest to be fresh and clean. Now, you can't do it that night. That night is when you are waiting for Anokeesed to come. So prior to, this is the preparation. This is why I'm telling you guys this stuff now. You have to clean your home. You have a guest coming. You got your mother or your stepmother coming, or your mother-in-law coming, and you want to make sure that everything is great. Your father is coming over to our house. So for me last year, I cleaned inside of my cabinets. I cleaned inside of my closets. I just started thinking, well, what if he opened this? What if he opened that? What if he go over here? So I cleaned my house thoroughly. Refrigerator clean, everything. Threw out a lot of stuff. And then over the last couple of days, I was looking. I knocked over some flour. Knocked over some cinnamon. And that was the Spirit saying, get ahead of it now. Start cleaning out your closets. Start cleaning out your cabinets. Anokeesed is coming. And I cleaned out, my house was spotless. Deb did the upstairs, I did the downstairs. What I didn't do was the basement at that time, because I was overwhelmed, and my basement was really raggedy. And Anokeesed had me, or the Spirit showed me, that that's how our lives are. That at times we clean what people can see, and even sometimes we purify ourselves and we get a lot of things, but down in the basement where nobody goes, there was a lot of stuff that was raggedy in there. Now I have since cleaned that up. I did that before the day of tranquility. That's the second day that Anokeesed will come and sleep with us. But that's just a little bit of information. But we're to have our hair, our places clean and fresh, and you are to provide a pillow. This is why I'm telling you, you have to prepare for this. Now in this pillow, for Anokeesed to rest his head on as he sleeps with you. So he has given us his word. I gave you my word that I was going to do this video by Wednesday. Today is Tuesday. Anokeesed, our Father, our Heavenly Father, has given us his word that he will come sleep with us if we follow these instructions. He said he's coming to sleep with you, and on that day you shall have your habitation also prepared to be fresh and new, and you shall have a pillow of pure white linen that is made white in the light of the sun. And the pillow shall be filled with clean and combed wool, and is to be placed in the middle of your resting place early in the day. So on Wednesday, we should have a pillow. I have my Anokeesed pillow. It is a pillow that I have purchased online. It is a wool pillow. And then I got a linen pillowcase that was made by the place that makes our worship garments. I told you all this in the text. You can contact him, and I'll give you that information, or if you have your own seamstress, or if you could do it yourself. But on that pillowcase, it's going to tell us that we have to have a yellow stripe. So I'll keep going. So it's a white linen pillowcase, but it also has wool inside the pillow. So we have a white pillow that's cased in linen. Then we have a case over top of it that slides in. So 94, and is to be made clean and ready for Anokeesed to come and sleep with that night. And the pillow is for him to lay his head upon. And you shall make room for him in your resting place when you lie down. And if you are married, his pillow is to have an opening on both sides that are yellow, and he will sleep in between you. So if you're married, you got your wife over here, you over here. There's an opening in the pillowcase, has his yellow side. And then in my side, it'll be an opening there. It'll be two openings in the pillowcase. All right? That's if you're married. And every man, woman, and child, whether they sleep, wherever they sleep, will have a pillow for Anokeesed. I have one for Dior. Dylan has his. Devin has his. I have mine. And this is where I'm saying it is very imperative that you have your pillow if you have a desire to sleep with Anokeesed on Wednesday. I believe that is March the 18th. Let me just check. Wednesday, March 18th. Let me see. Yes, that is Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. And the man, if you are, no, let me see. And the prisoner, so wherever they sleep, will have a pillow for Anokeesed. And the prisoner, verse 95, and he who travels in the way, and those who seek their prey, and any who go to perform attack, doesn't matter where you are, if you in prison, he says, shall find a place to rest with their father Anokeesed on this day. And the domination of the wicked will not prevent the righteous from sleeping with their father. Now it gives provisions in another chapter that even if you didn't have all of these things, if you were a prisoner and you couldn't get them done, then he said that Anokeesed will bring his own pillow. But this is not if you didn't do it because you were lazy. You didn't prepare. I'm giving you time to prepare. I told you on the day after the day of forgiveness. So we had 50 days. There's 50 days in between each feast day. So we had 50 days to do so. Now we're in the March. We're 3 weeks in, but we still have time to get it done. And if you are not married, the pillow shall be open on one end, and it shall be yellow on the other end. It shall be laid on the glory side, which is on the right side, with the open end toward the sleeping person. So my pillow will be laid on my right-hand side, and the open end with the yellow on it, it will be facing me. All right? 97, and the man and his wife shall inhabit the side of the resting place that is shown upon the heavenly tablets. The man being on the glory side, which is on the right, and the woman on the power side, which is on the left. And this day is a Sabbath. So Wednesday is a Sabbath. And on the morrow, on the day of the Lord, or the day, Anokeesed day, you are all who are able are to prepare the skins of animal for clothing, and the women are to make clothing from them. And at this time, the needles of women are to be blessed and established in their rightful place as a sure possession of all the women in Ma'im. So this is referring to Kaaba, which is known as Eve, when Anokeesed taught them, or Motza taught them how to sew clothes. He gave her a needle made out of a bone, made out of a lamb's bone. And she said, this is mine. This is my possession. And this is reminiscent of that the women make clothes at this time. And if you can make a patch, that's fine. That's a condition called Paran. And that shows that you are loved and cared for. So that's great. If you're able to make a pair of socks, if you can make a handkerchief, whatever, that will be great. If not, We didn't have a woman here in last year, and we were unable to do so. And I still don't have a woman, so I'm unable to do these things. But I do what I can. And for me, what I do is I pray that if you do have a rib that's out there for me, that she is looking for me. She's doing her part of this ceremony, and I'm doing my part. And one day we'll come together and talk about how we did our part separately until we found each other. So I'll continue. 99. And on that day, after these blessings, you are to count your possessions before one another. And while the storehouse can provide you with things to use in your daily lives, only my father Anokeesed can give you your possessions. And you are to consider your possessions, whatever you feel that the Most High gave specifically for you. That's not 19 pairs of shoes. That's not 5 fur coats. Those are things. Those are satisfaction of possessions. But there may be certain possessions that he gave you. For me, I don't have a lot, nor do I desire a lot at this time. But I just say my van, my work van, that's my possession. And I thank him daily for giving it to me. And I haven't done that in a couple of days, so I need to do that. Thank you, guys. And everything else in your life, as I just said, if you have only the use according to his kind provision. And this is so that the satisfaction of possessions will be far away from the inhabitants of Ma'in. That's us. So on the following day, now this comes to Friday, Anokeesed day is the day that we do not count, which is the first day of the year. So on Anokeesed day, which is our father, where they stole what is called Father's Day, so I have renamed it Father's Day, but it's referred to as Anokeesed day. That day is not counted for in the year. That is a day, but it is not counted for in the year. So we have 13 weeks times 4. That 13 weeks equals a season. That's one season. Then you have another 13 weeks. That's another season. So we go into Asheral. That's the spring. Then we go another 13 weeks and we go into Shadashal, which is the spring. Then we go into Asheral. That's the summer. Then we go into Gabahal, 13 more weeks, and that's the fall. And then we go into Shabbathiel, which is the winter. And then 13 weeks later, we come right back here, which brings us to Thursday, which is Anokeesed day. That's 364 days. And then the next day begins a new year. Now, when we have leap year, not only do we celebrate Anokeesed day, we also have a day for Motzah, that is the day after Anokeesed day. Everybody with me? Okay. So, on the following day, verse number 100, which is the first day of the year, you are going to eat nothing whose blood has been shed. So we're not eating meat. But you are to bring sheep with you in all your comings and doings on that day. And they are to be present for the worship and fellowship of that day. And we actually did that last year. For my daughter's birthday, we went to a petting zoo. I met the guy, became friendly. When I saw this, I contacted him. I rented the sheep for the day. He came for a couple of hours, and we were able to be obedient. We have several photos with him, and that was great. Now, if you ain't able to do that, then again, just wear a wool on that day. You can do what you can do while we're on this side. The goal is to be out of Babylon, but while we're in Babylon, there's going to be some limitations as we follow along with the feast days. Verse number 101. And you must see that nothing brings them to fear or dismay. This is the sheep. And just as sheep followed with me when I went with Yatzakad and Kaba out of Eden, this is Motzah, this is the Messiah, this is Jesus speaking, where he's saying when we left out, the sheep came with us. That's the same way that on the new year, that's how I want that sheep to come. So we want to make sure that they're not nervous and anxious. For sheep and their wool feel the righteousness of my forgiveness, because I began to become temple with man on that day. And the presence and the spirit of forgiveness shall abound. And everyone who is of age shall come before the altar before me, every man and woman. I'm putting together an altar now. I didn't even realize it for this, but maybe that's why Anokeesed placed it on my heart. There's several rocks that I'm looking at establishing. I had a prayer spot, and I cleaned that out, and I'm making that my sacred place outside. A tree that was, I feel, placed there for me. where it just covers everything. You wouldn't even know I'm here. It's like I go to another world and I'm establishing an altar there. So if you're here, hope prayerfully we'll have that finished in time. So everyone who is of age shall come before the altar before me. Every man and woman shall put yellow paint on their glory ear to show forth their willingness to listen to the voice of Kahi, which is the Holy Spirit. So we're to put yellow paint on our right ear. Who is sent to guide them in the way. Kahi is sent to guide them in the way, and by his voice will become clear in your hearts that during your daily walk in the coming year. So we're saying this coming year, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to listen to you, Holy Spirit. That's why we put it on our right ear. And they shall have yellow paint on their glory thumb, on my right thumb, to show forth before all men and the Urkadeshi that they are willing to bless Anokeesed and the humbling offering of their life in loving kindness. So what I'm going to do with my hands, what I'm going to do. If you're talking about doing, that's holy. So I'm going to be holy before Anokeesed. So this paint on your right thumb signifies that. And they shall all put paint on their big toe, on their glory side, the right side, to show that they are determined to only act out of loving kindness and toward their fellows, and to put forth their hand to support the visions of one another. So it also tells us that we're going to work together. We're going to walk together as fellows. So we publicly do this. Now, I told you we'll come back to this. This is what I'm saying. When we did this last year, I realized that the reason that it's not a Sabbath is because we went to work after we had our celebration. We moved about. And people were looking at us, why in the world do they have yellow paint and yellow I said, that's why it wasn't a Sabbath. So as we're moving about, one day we're gonna see somebody with yellow paint on their ear. Hey, you follow Shabuah. You're a follower of Shabuah. And for those that didn't know, everybody was inquisitive. Why y'all? I didn't want to ask, but you got paint on your ear. Now we have conversation about it. So that's why our Sabbath is Wednesday. Thursday is not a Sabbath, but Friday is not a Sabbath. But we still have a ceremony on those days. So we continue. Verse number 105. And on that day, the men of service shall hear from the people their longings and their desires to walk in holiness of heart and to find fulfillment as they journey on their pathway back to Eden. This is what we're learning, the 12 waymarks. That is our journey on our pathway back to Eden. How do we get through? In other words, in Christianity, you ask, how do I get saved? They'll tell you something like admit, believe, and confess. It's as easy as ABC. Well, there's 12 waymarks. There's 12 signs, direction signs on how to get back to Eden. We also have our 7 foundations of Shabuah. And then we have the covenant of Abraham. Following those is how we get back to Eden. That is our instruction manual. So he says, on that day, the men of service shall hear, and then they shall perform healings on that day according as I direct. And even as I did for the finger of Kava from the thorn, when they left Eden, the first time that Kava went to touch a rose, it had thorns and it cut her and it bled. And first time this has ever happened. And Anokeesed came and kissed it and gave her a yellow rose. So that's what it's referring to. So it's telling us, let nothing pass from the first day of the year until it's over, from the Sabbath, so that's that Wednesday, until the first day of the year is over, until Saturday morning, let nothing pass into the lips of righteous except by thorns or by drinking, so that the dread of you shall abound among the Durkadeshi. That example that I just gave with Kava. So we're supposed to eat with thorns. Now, I had that all messed up last year. All I had was the handbook, a book that I had ordered, and we went with that. I had no contact with the community at this time, but we had begun keeping the feast days. So I thought this meant that we can only eat things that came from thorns. So we were eating raspberries, we eat strawberry, only things that came from, I don't know if it was strawberries, but raspberries, blueberries, things like that. So that was a couple of days of eating that. So that's not the case. We're going to eat with thorns. Now, we'll try to find some thorns that we could eat. Use those as forks. I bought, because I wasn't sure, I actually purchased wooden forks because I said maybe it's what it's actually saying is that we should eat with those. And if nothing else, let's just eat with the wooden forks. If you can't find thorns, if there's no thorns available for you, then your second option will be to buy some wooden forks. That's just something that I'm coming with that while we're in Babylon. And it came to pass that after Moses explained the day of the new year, I only, because then it goes into, then it goes into how we do on that worship day. And we'll talk about that at a later time. But there are some items that you need to know, or some particulars that you need to know. So on Wednesday, the March the 18th, that is the day, like I said, if you want to get together, I love that because we can fellowship one with another. That is a Sabbath. And then on Thursday, that is not a Sabbath. But on Wednesday, we wear wool. And on Thursday, that's Father's Day. That's a day that we're still going to come together and we present ourselves to Anokeesed. But I forgot to say, on Wednesday night, the Father has promised that he will come and visit with us. Now, what he's telling us is he's coming visiting with the righteous. Well, who are the righteous? We heard in the book of Melchizedek that fornication and lust are a heavy burden to Messiah. We heard that several times in the book of Melchizedek in chapter 10. So we want to relieve the burdens of Messiah. So we want to purify ourselves. If there's some sins in our lives, let's look to get rid of them. We have 3 weeks before this approaches, before this new year. You can begin what they will call a New Year's resolution. This is what we're saying. We are reestablishing our covenant of what we have promised to do for that year, and that goes for the entire year. Now it's time to renew that covenant. So those that, and this is why you clean your house. You remove any of those items. If you have some things that you know that you wouldn't be embarrassed if the Messiah happened to walk through your house or come in your house, then get rid of those things. Now's the time to purify not only yourself, but your home, because our Father is coming to sleep with us. And I can promise you, that happened to me. Mine was in the form of a reproval. My daughter, Dior, she woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning and was hollering, "Ya, ya, 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 ya," because we referred to him as Yah. That's what I taught her, Yahuwah, at that time. And for me, I got a reproof that night, a reproval that night, but I know that he came. So I pray that when he comes this day, that he has a words of encouragement. But either way, if you want to sleep with your Father, then this is what we have to do. On Wednesday, that's the Sabbath, then at night, but you lay all of that stuff out. Wednesday early, you put all your clean linen out, you getting ready. You got guests coming. You have the most important guest. It's like you having a president coming, but you have somebody that's even higher than the president. We have Anokeesed coming. Thursday is Anokeesed day, Father's Day. That's where we come and we have another meal and we come before the altar. Friday is another day. We'll have the lamb here, the sheep here, excuse me. We'll have the sheep here, and then we'll have another service, and then we'll go do whatever it is you have to do, because that isn't a Sabbath. But we will have our yellow paint. I've contacted the Brotherhood community, and but I also started looking on how to make our own paint. We don't use the paint. I did not knowingly. Again, I didn't have contact with the community at that time, and I could only do what I could do while I was here. But I purchased the paint. But that paint has petroleum, which is a fallen watcher. So we want to make our paint from scratch. So we'll talk about that. I'm going to play with it, see if I could do it. And we have our own paint. I asked the community to send us some. But, you know, I can't rely on them for everything because they have their own workload. And then that concludes Friday. And then 15 days later is the day, the measure of my Malu, which is on the 15th. So I just want to, I'm not going to necessarily touch on that, but that is a day that we're all going to get together. Because as I said, there are certain things that we look at as a little bit more intimate. But on the measure of Malu, which takes place on Friday, April the 3rd, that will begin, that will be all of us together. And that's where we go 15 days. That'll be the 15th day of the year. And then from there, it goes to 50 days for the rest of the remaining of the seasons. And that's where we get our 365 days. So it's 50 times 6, 50 times 6 is the 300, right? I don't know. What is that? 50, 100, 200, 300. Yep. And then 7 seasons, 350. And then we got our 15 days. That's what gets us to 365 days. All right. So it's not based on the month. It's not based on the lunar. It's all based on the solar calendar. And it's not based, it's based on the seasons, which are 13 weeks for each season. So we also have, at the closing of each season, we have a day of purification. So we want to get ready for the next season. The season is the spirit. So we want to get ready for Shadashah. We want to get ready for Asherah, which is like a visitor. And when I was reading it, I didn't understand, but I have a better understanding after spending a lot of time with her now, because Asherah, which is summer, that's the only time those temperatures are there. And we can have 70 degrees in Shadashah, which is spring, and we could have it in Gabahau. We could even have it in Shabbathial. You only having 95, 100 degrees in Asherah. So we treat her as a special guest that's here. And then Gabahel, which is the gathering, there's another way that we greet them, her in. And then we have Shabbathial, which is the rest of Anokeesed. We greet her in a different way. So these are all the things that we do in preparation, and I take this extremely serious. And the reason why is, in the beginning, what I read to you. Matter of fact, let me go back and read this one part. I don't think I gave this to you. And that's why in the book of Enoch is dealing with what we have: say, feel, do, be. Enoch, first, second, Achi is dealing with what he said. Enoch is dealing with how he feels. Ancient grandmothers is dealing with what he does, and then Melchizedek is dealing with who he is, be. So a say, feel, do, be. That is the proper way that we should look at things. But I want to give you something real quick. His large man, and you will say, bang, bang, bang. If I don't have it here, I'll get it at another time. But it gave really the heart of why we do this. But I've come to, verse 61, I've come to you this day to ask you to bless and comfort my father according to his tender desires of his heart. That's like Dylan calling a meeting, or Devin calling a meeting, and they get together and they say, hey, listen, my dad, you know, he's a little sad because we used to spend an anniversary together, and it breaks his heart that he has to do it by himself. And, you know, if y'all can, man, that'll really bless him if you come and you spend time with him during this time. This is what Moses is saying. He's saying, my father's heart is heavy because these days were established in eternity, and then they take place in time. But they keep happening year after year after year. And because there's a false calendar, there's a false Adahiyal that's been given, then we're following wrong days and we're missing his days. I had a confession that I missed my grandson's birthday. I put that on Facebook. His birthday was Monday, and I hit him on Sunday, and I'm feeling so convicted behind that. I called him twice, called him 6:30 this morning to apologize or ask forgiveness again, and we're going to do some things. And then I also forgot that it was my father's birthday, the day that I'm apologizing to him for not making his birthday. And I could hear that he was happy that I called, but he sounded disappointed that his pop-up didn't remember. Well, I told him that would never happen again. And that's the commitment that I made to my Heavenly Father, that I'll never again forget his feast days. That's how important it is to me. That's how important it is to him. That's law number 16. And hopefully this will begin to be how it's important to you. So we can go over more, but I didn't want to take up a whole session for that, because right now we're dealing with the Urkadeshi. But we will be able to touch back on this coming back as we get back online. All right. Thank you guys. Shalom. I hope this has been a blessing for each one of you.